Welcome to Claim Your Confidence, a podcast that will introduce you to the most powerful people in the world. No matter what obstacles you face, Claim Your Confidence will inspire and motivate you to go after the life you want. Are you ready to claim your confidence?
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Claim Your Confidence. I'm Lydia Fenet, coming to you from Newsstand Studios in Rockefeller Center. Here we are. It feels like summer, and sitting across from me is a bright, shining star in the fashion world. Adam Lippis has joined me today. Adam, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
So, Adam, first and foremost, we were just talking before this podcast started about the fact that resort is coming up. It's kind of like exams. So, a little bit, for 2 seconds, tell me what it's like to live in a fashion calendar with something due, it seems, if you were to use the school correlation, every week.
So fashion calendar is really almost every week, but more like 4 times a year. Mm-hmm. But they're exam periods, and they are hard deadlines. So, and there's a lot of work that goes into showing those collections, finishing the collections. So you have to start months and months out. And there's a lot of shipping that goes into it. There's a lot of stuff that'll bore everyone if I talk about it. But you have hard deadlines. The garment's either ready then or not. So my life functions around the fashion calendar, not around a normal calendar.
Yeah. And tell me this, because I'm always curious, and I always have so many questions around fashion because it is such an incredibly dynamic, but also kind of mysterious business. When did fashion become something you were interested in? You grew up in Buffalo, New York. What was it about fashion that captured your imagination? Were you the child who was looking at the magazines, looking at different pieces of clothing, wondering how you could make them? Or what was it about fashion that drew you to that industry?
I always wanted to be a fashion designer. I always loved clothing. I always loved clothing for myself. Yeah. I loved shopping with my mother. Mm-hmm. I loved W Magazine, which was a newspaper back then when I would read it when my mother got it. And I just had this sort of fantasy, but I didn't see a path to that dream.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to go from being a boy in Buffalo with a family of entrepreneurs and lawyers and professionals. How do you become a fashion designer? I didn't see the way forward.
Yeah.
So I took a route that is very non-traditional. I went to Cornell. I studied psychology. And which has proved really great working with all my customers. Customers, I love you, but, it was the early 90s, mm-hmm. and American Psycho had come out, the book. And I thought, they're so cool. I know it's a crazy kind of book, but it was so cool. I thought, you know what? I'm going to be an investment banker. This sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Because it was mixing sort of fashion and finance and all that sort of stuff.
New York
from the
in
book,
its heyday.
in my book.
Yeah.
But before I became an investment banker, I went and lived in Paris for a year. Ooh. And there I was exposed to fashion.
Yeah.
On a level I didn't know existed from Buffalo, meeting designers and models and sewers and you name it. And I really wanted to stay in Paris and study fashion. But when I called home to tell my father this was my plan, he basically told me, no, it wasn't.
Yeah. He's like, actually, I have a plan for you, and it is not staying in Paris.
Yeah, he said, listen, you have gotten a job at Bear Stearns for the summer in investment banking, and you're going to take that or you're on your own. Mm. And I didn't really know what on your own meant, but I knew I didn't like what it sounded like. Yeah. So I came to New York, and I did my time at Bear Stearns. When I was at Bear Stearns, they asked me to cut my hair. I had very long blonde hair. Huh. Sun-in hair. I used to use sun-in, like under the heat lamp at my grandmother's.
Wonderful.
And I walked up Madison Avenue to get my hair cut. Mm-hmm. And I walked by the Ralph Lauren store, and I walked in. I thought, if not now, when? I walked in, and I said, are you hiring? And the guy on the sales floor said, God, I love your hair. And I thought, I'm here where I belong, obviously.
Wow. Oh, that's so interesting.
And I started at Ralph Lauren on the sales floor.
So you just left Bear Stearns and that was it. What did that conversation sound like with your dad?
Not good. Not good. I was on the sales floor for a week, and the manager of the store came down and said, I was just looking at your resume, Cornell, varsity squash, Bear Stearns. What are you doing? And I said, I want to be a fashion designer. And she said, well, come be my assistant and let's start on the road.
Wow.
And that was really how I started.
And that was really where it began.
Yeah.
So you were in Paris when fashion really came to you. What did you see as the difference between Paris and New York in fashion, even in those early years?
I didn't even think about it.
You didn't?
I wasn't exposed enough to New York fashion. I mean, my mother dressed extraordinary, had an extraordinary wardrobe and incredible style and all those things. So I was aware of designers and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But I guess I wasn't aware that fashion was an industry, a business, as I understood it. I knew it sort of as, it was more like saying I want to be a movie star back in the day.
Yeah.
Except I didn't like to act. I knew I loved clothes.
Yeah.
But so I didn't really, it wasn't until I was in Paris did I realize that it was a big industry as well. And it was no different in Paris than in New York for me, really, in those days. I didn't dissect it like that.
And Ralph Lauren was what drew you in. Was it something about the particular style, or was it just the world? Because I do sometimes think fashion in the 90s, not dissimilar to the auction world, the world was very much something that became very appealing to people, to be part of this incredible, glamorous place. Because the 90s was the heyday of the supermodels. I mean, that was really when fashion was becoming what it is today, this industry that everybody wants to touch and be part of, right?
Yeah, and Ralph was, was Hermes of America. So you were really ensconced in this dream. Mm-hmm. So being a young guy who grew up in Buffalo, New York, fairly conservative family and school and all that, Ralph Lauren was part of Brooks Brothers and Ralph Lauren.
Yeah.
And so it was a very comfortable place for me to be. It was a place I knew. Mm-hmm. It was sort of like the place I just decided was where I wanted to go to. I really walked by the store and was like, I'm going to stop in. This wasn't some big thought out plan.
Yeah.
I knew I loved Ralph Lauren, so I just popped in.
It's such an amazing analogy about the hair when they were like, you've got to go cut your hair. And then you walk in, they're like, we love your hair.
Good thing I did it not, that way. Ralph Lauren did send me out to have my hair recolored.
Oh, okay.
My first day on the job, which those were the heydays of fashion.
They're like, here's the corporate card. Off you go, Adam.
That's what it was, to a big fancy hairdresser.
They're like, here's a black car. Have a good time.
No more sun-in for me.
No more sun-in. So how long were you at Ralph?
I was there for a year, and my boss said, I'm going to go to Oscar de la Renta, and I want you to come with me. And I wasn't really familiar with Oscar. Oscar sold men's ties at JCPenney's in Buffalo, New York. And Buffalo is not a real ball gown world. So my mother was more in Jill Sander and Giorgio Armani and those sort of labels.
Sleek.
It was much sleeker. So I wasn't familiar with Oscar.
Yeah.
So I said to her, Oscar de la Renta, doesn't he make men's ties at JCPenney's? And she looked at me with like, you know nothing. You know nothing, youngster. First day I went there, I had been at Ralph Lauren for a year, so I was in a total Ralph Lauren getup. 2 cashmere sweaters around my neck and
pop collar.
It was all like dressed in the wrong season because we were dressed for the season that the clothes were in the store, not for the season outside. So I was in these linen pants and these croc lace-up sandals. It was middle of winter. The whole thing was crazy. And Oscar had a chef who made lunch for the office. Mm-hmm. And I basically sat next to the kitchen so I could watch her making lunch. I watched her put out the buffet. Nobody did much. I then saw Mr. de la Renta and all his grandeur walk by me. And I watched him from my little desk at his plate, his salad, his chicken salad, his pasta. And I got up and I thought, well, I guess I'll go. And I got my plate. And then after I had my food, I spun around. There were 3 big tables in the room. And he was sitting in the corner looking into the room. And I thought, well, where do I sit? And you know how you don't go to church early and sit in the back?
Right.
I went and sat next to him, which only a 22-year-old would do.
Absolutely. Like no 35-year-old who'd worked in fashion, they'd be like against the corner by themselves.
Hiding.
Yes.
And he looked at me and looked at this outfit I was in and looked at this hair, which was still long and blonde, and had never seen a guy dressed like this. And he said, do you work here? And that began a friendship and a mentorship that lasted till the day he died.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
what a great story. Yeah. I feel like there are these bold moves in your career between the, quitting Bear Stearns to sitting next to Oscar de la Renta. So what was it that once you got there, you learned to love about this fashion that hadn't appealed to you before? Or maybe you didn't even know, not even
Oscar was a much smaller business than Ralph Lauren. Obviously, I wasn't in the store. I was in corporate. And he really allowed me to grow up in his business, learning different parts of the business. Whatever I wanted to take on, he encouraged that. He didn't go to design school. He really learned about fashion design apprenticing. So I think it was giving that forward, paying that forward, apprenticing sort of idea without me even knowing what was happening.
Yeah.
But little by little, I climbed up the ranks until I started working as the creative director for him when I was about 26 or 27.
I read a really great story, too, about a store in Paris where you were sort of like, I think you should do this. And he was like, okay.
That was basically the first hello was at lunch. And then I caught wind very early, maybe 6 months into my job, that he was opening a store in Paris. Balmain he designed for Balmain. It was very different back then. Balmain had a store. They were giving it to Oscar to be an Oscar de la Renta store. And I heard Oscar was just putting his clothes in there. They weren't doing any work in the store. And I came from Ralph Lauren for a year. I thought I knew. So we have to do up this store.
Merchandise. And
yes. So I looked through all of his press books, which were these massive books. They were about 3 feet by 2 feet with all the clippings in them. Yeah. And I looked through the books and found out what he liked, Biedermeier furniture, tiger rug, and I put together a mood board. And I made an appointment with the secretary, and I went in and showed it to him and said, "This is what your store should look like." And he said, "Do you speak French?" I said, "Enough." And he said, "So go do it." And I was then 22, off in Paris for months, designing a store for him. And he was opening a lot of stores then. So that was really my first beginning of sort of apprenticing with him. We opened stores all throughout Asia, and I was in charge of design. And it was just great. On one hand, it was great. On the other hand, I was the cheapest possible person Oscar could hire to do this.
Yes. Well, those things go hand in hand,
It all worked out well. But that was sort of my first experience of doing something on my own and getting to know him and working for someone else's style.
This is all so rosy and seems so effortless, but tell me something that happened along the way where you really learned something that you didn't expect because something didn't go quite the way you thought. I mean, you were so young at that point. I suspect it felt more like a road bump, but...
It was very rosy.
Yeah.
It was really, really, really rosy. My only challenges in those years was I knew I wanted to have my own business, and I was tortured by that. What is my idea going to be? When is a light bulb going to go off in my head?
Even at that age, even after that little time? I mean, how long were you there before you became creative director?
Probably 5 years, and he kept promoting me and promoting. I couldn't do enough there. It was a wonderful family place to work. His daughter Eliza was there. We were very close, and it was just incredible. And also the clothes were incredible. Watching this master design, was incredible. But I always wanted to I always was looking next, forward.
Are you still like that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm the same. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
I wondered if that went away.
It didn't go away.
That's good.
But it was much more intense then.
Yeah.
I didn't think then, okay, how can I succeed here and make as much out of this now? I kept thinking, what's my next move? What's my next thing to do? What's my next act?
Yes.
And I knew I wanted my own business. That was really ingrained in me. So I knew Oscar had a lot of people there who had been around forever, and I knew I didn't want to be that. I knew you could get very comfortable, and I was worried about being comfortable at 26.
Yeah,
27.
Can you imagine? Life is almost over at 27.
But you think it is.
Of course,
you think it is.
You do.
But when I look back on what we accomplished, I mean, I think he won 3 CFDA Designer of the Year awards.
Oh my gosh.
And it was a real moment of taking the classicism, which was Oscar, and color and pattern, but with a little twist of what we were seeing out downtown. And I remember I would walk in like John Bartlett, really wide pants. I bought clothes like crazy. Back then I was a real fashion kid, and he'd be like, "You're going to take those pants, give them to the back. They're going to rub them off." And, it was all this sort of seeing, and we hired a lot of young designers, and it was sort of this, Oscar was so excited by all this.
Yeah.
And the clothes were incredible, really incredible.
It's incredible, that story. And just thinking about bringing what you see in New York, it's the ultimate runway. You just see something and you're like, oh, I could wear that. I could do that. Yeah. And it shapes everything. It shapes your closet, whether or not you want it to. I mean, I worked at Christie's for 23 years, and my wardrobe, I was saying this to my daughter the other day, my wardrobe was so Christie's. Everything was so put together, and I live downtown. I live in Tribeca, and now it's the wide leg jeans that you see everywhere with the ties. It's just this completely different style, and I would never have thought that would be something that I wear. But in New York, it's like, depending on where you are in the city,
it changes.
It changes. Truly, no one cares.
No one cares here, that's for sure.
They don't care. So you mentioned this earlier. You had this urge for the next step. I think Adam and Eve was the first one, right? So when did that idea come to you?
I torturedly. I always wore T-shirts. I after getting out of my fashion phase, I always wore sort of incredible pants and a white V-neck T-shirt. And I always bought very expensive T-shirts. And I thought
it's very California.
But crisp. They were always crisp.
Yeah.
And I thought I want to make a crisp New York T-shirt. And I started to research about making T-shirts. We looked all over the world. I started very slowly, very quietly. And then I went to Oscar and said, I have this idea. I want to launch this brand called Adam plus Eve. I decided that was going to be the name. Don't ask me why.
And what year is this?
Like 2005.
Okay.
And he said, I don't know what you're talking about. T-shirts, underwear, luxury, but I support you. And I'll be your first investor. And you'll do that part-time and stay here part-time because that's not going to work out and you'll come back.
Interesting.
And we launched Adam plus Eve, and I was in the office about 2 months after launch, my little office downtown, a team of 4, and I was doing halftime Oscar or halftime down there. And back then I was smoking cigarettes, and I came in from smoking a cigarette at 8 o'clock at night, and I had a Chinese production director who said, Oprah's on the phone. And I said, Oprah, hello, Adam. I'm like, oh, yes, it's Oprah.
Oprah herself.
I'm like, can you repeat your name? She said, I sure can. It's Miss Winfrey. I've been on hold for 7 minutes and 41 seconds, and I was just about to hang up. And I said, well, I don't know what you want, but I am thrilled that you
waited.
Yeah. And she said, I'm wearing this T-shirt, and I'm obsessed, and I want 3 dozen. And here's my Amex, and if I don't pay retail, I'll send them back to you. And this is my address, and thank you so much. Goodbye. So I hung up the phone. I went into my little area with 3 other employees. Guys, that was Oprah. Like, we're actually doing something right. And this was like Oprah's heyday.
Oh my gosh. I just had Nate Berkus on the show. So I feel like,
great, yeah.
I just feel like Joe and I were laughing. I was like, Oprah seems to
Oprah's
be
moment.
everywhere. Yeah.
She is everywhere.
No, but it's also just amazing to hear these stories because she's such an icon. I mean, it's incredible.
And I wrote her a love letter basically about how much it meant that she called herself.
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
Yeah.
And that we're a young entrepreneur and starting a new business is much harder than I ever thought because I thought everyone who kissed my ass basically at Oscar would do it in my own business. And boy, did I learn a hard lesson there. That was not the case. Yeah. And a month later, someone called and said, Miss Winfrey wants you on her show.
Wow.
And so that really changed. We were on her show. We did a fashion show, all that. That really changed the trajectory of the business very quickly. You were on the show. Of course, I was very nervous, not because it was Oprah, because she made you feel very comfortable, but because I had a very big idea this was make it or break it.
Yeah.
But we had a great time on the show together. We had a very good rapport. And when I left and went back in the big white limousine, the office called and said, Oprah wants to see Adam, so he has to come back. And I'm like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Or I had made her some clothes, something that she wanted. I showed it to her on air, and I was like, it doesn't fit. What did I do? And she's just like, I went up to her office. She's like, I'm just so happy to meet you. I want to know more about you. And it was a really special moment. It was a very stressful moment. I was thinking about it this morning, actually, and I don't think about it, obviously, a lot. But I can remember the utter fear and the utter nervousness and the utter, pressure. And I'm happy with age that those feelings have gone away. I don't feel that pressure like I used to.
Well, you've proven yourself, clearly.
Well, a lot of, age is not always good, but with that, it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So was it a make or break it?
It was a make or break it. And it was funny because they filmed for 61 minutes, everyone. So someone was going to get cut off that show where there's 5 of us on the show. It was different.
Is that right? Oh, gosh.
I was like, oh, gosh. So I didn't know until it came out. Until about a week before it came out that we were going to be on the air. And it was an extraordinary, it was extraordinary. It was an extraordinary make it sort of moment.
Because the phones just started ringing off the hook.
You just can't imagine. And we ordered as much as we could. I'm basically bankrupted the company ordering stock. I could have ordered exponential more and sold it. We just couldn't even handle it. We just couldn't handle it. Back then you got an internet order and you printed it out just on paper, on computer paper. And we had, I think it was 4.5 feet tall of orders that we couldn't fulfill.
Oh my gosh.
We just didn't have the stock.
So then what do you do in that instance?
We tried to communicate with everybody that we just can't. And we just, we sold what we could. And people to this day still talk about the Oprah t-shirt and we still sell it. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
What a story. Gosh. So Adam and Eve then is launched.
Right after that, it became Adam. We changed it to Adam. There was a softcore pornographic site called adamandeve.com.
Right. That's bad confusing.
We were Adam plus Eve, yeah. And when I was on Oprah, there was a lot of confusion about who we were. And Oprah had to put a banner on her website saying, please note, For T-shirts, go to adamplessive.com, because she was getting a lot of complaints that this young man she had on her show was selling pornographic items, which wasn't actually me.
I love it. It's like for white T-shirts, go to Adam Plessive.
Yeah, it was very.
For everything else, visit the
We
other
took
site.
down the Adam and Eve website for 3 days. The other people's website for 3 days.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow, that is such a fun story.
So we changed the name to Adam.
And it took on more than the T-shirt at that point.
Investors came in.
Yes.
The old story with investors. Investors came in, and we launched in contemporary fashion. So think Juicy Couture back in the day. I didn't know anything about contemporary. I knew Ralph Lauren and Oscar de la Renta, and our T-shirts were very expensive for that moment. But this was the business side, and it was investment money coming in, and I was young, and I went with it. And off we went into the full fashion route. I didn't have the confidence to start that way. Not only did I not have the confidence, I would never have done that to Oscar. While Oscar was alive, I wouldn't make the clothes like I make today. I would have felt, because he taught me everything, I would have felt sort of like I stole from him. So T-shirts were the safe route.
Yeah.
But then we started on this fashion route where I have embraced until today.
Was it fun? Was when the investor money's pouring in and you're kind of like, Oprah's golden boy who's done this incredible shirt and everybody wants it. What is that moment like? And then you were acquired eventually, correct?
It was super fun. Yeah. It was incredible. We had our first runway show, and I was on the cover of Women's Wear Daily for it, which is rare. That's usually reserved for super brands.
Yeah.
And I was on top of the world, and I was probably going out too much and having a good time, because my second fashion show wasn't so good.
What happened?
It just was not. I was not working. I thought this was so easy. Everything is so easy. And I can remember Anna wanted to come backstage before our second show. And I remember looking around, and it suddenly hit me, oh my God, what do I show her?
Oh gosh,
like nothing
really?
to me rose to the Anna level. It was a fine show. It was just sort of conservative and boring, and a who cares moment. And I got bad reviews for it.
Oof.
Like, we had so much potential, and and we expect more from someone with his lineage, and it's like, oh
my God,
heartbreaking.
Things you can still repeat years later. Like those
it's
reviews.
a show we don't talk of, but I'm talking about it because it's.
You should talk about it. I think that's the beauty, because otherwise everyone also listens to the story and they're like, oh, success after success after success.
Yeah, it was not that easy.
And it's also, success is not linear, A, and B, success is not guaranteed. Even if you are successful, you have to continually reinvent yourself. And I think that's one of the biggest learnings about success that people don't realize. They think once you've had the Oprah moment and you make it, that you've made it forever.
No.
But not even close to true.
No.
And especially in fashion, you're only as good as your last collection. You have the lineage, but you're constantly evolving and creating.
And there's a new designer every week.
Yeah, exactly.
So you really have to keep fresh and current. And I didn't. And it took me a few years from that point to sort of really define who I am as a designer and what I wanted to give to the world and to the story of fashion, and because I hadn't thought about any of that stuff.
Yeah,
I was T-shirts, and I was making things I liked, and it was all just sort of easy breezy.
Yeah,
but actually, having a business was going to take more than that. And so I slowly climbed out of it, but we were hit with the 08-09 financial crisis, and things just went to hell. We were growing very, very, very fast by that point, doubling year over year. But because we run 6 months out, we're buying inventory 6 months out. And so suddenly everything stopped selling, and all orders were canceled and all this. And so that was another very tough learning curve in the fashion realm. And I wound up selling the company after that to a big American conglomerate.
And what did that feel like?
Horrible. It was the right business decision. I made a lot of money. I decided that I was done with fashion, really. I had a contract with them. I decided I was going to play out my contract, and I had no more stress about payroll or anything like that. And I thought, it's just the best thing. I'll do this for a year or two, and then I'm going to go buy a hotel somewhere and run a hotel. So my dream. And actually, after I sold the company, I sold my apartment. I moved into a hotel. I was kind of preparing for my next act.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I did with them. And I really phoned it in. I wasn't there much, and I was preparing for what's next. Always thinking what's next. But now this was like I did fashion.
What's next?
What is next for my life?
Yeah.
And then I wound up leaving the company as I had planned on, and was really planning. I had found a little hotel in Bahia to buy. And I got a phone call that the company that bought my brand was going to sell it to Kmart.
Oh, gosh. This feels very Halston to me.
It
I did
does.
see that show, and I feel like I'm feeling this.
Could have gone that way.
To Kmart.
And I thought, I didn't know my name anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, right?
So I was like, this isn't good.
Yeah.
And I had started to, it had been about 6 months since I had not been working. And I had started to have all these thoughts. I was living in my country house, reading sort of the New York Times fashion and still keeping up. And this idea that I was never able to say in fashion what I really wanted to say. And I wanted to give myself that chance. And I thought, no, forget about that. Next act. And then it really bothered me. It got into my soul that I launched in T-shirts, yes, because I wore T-shirts, but because I was so worried what Oscar was going to think. I launched in contemporary fashion because that's what my investors wanted. I didn't even know what that was. And I just thought, I maybe have to try this again. And I decided when I got the phone call about Kmart, okay, this is the universe telling me. They're pushing me a little bit more. There's a little more incentive.
Yeah, a little more gas in the tank.
Yeah, and so I took all the money I made
And bought it back.
bought my name back, and I relaunched in designer, and everyone in the world was like, you've lost your mind.
Yeah.
You got out alive. No one gets out alive from fashion. Well, not nobody, but most people. Don't do this. The advice was left, right, and center. Don't do it. But I had to. Just had to.
And did it feel amazing when you got to debut as the person that you wanted to be?
It was interesting. I was so proud. Yes, I loved the clothes that we made our first season. Net-a-Porter came in. I wanted to sell to Net-a-Porter and Bergdorf's. Net-a-Porter came in and loved it and bought the whole collection. And Bergdorf came in. Linda Fargo said, I love it, but you're a contemporary designer. You can't go from contemporary to designer. You can go the other way, but you can't go up. So it's going to be confusing for a customer, so we're not going to buy it. And today, Bergdorf's is one of our biggest single accounts.
It's amazing.
So
just proving yourself back time over time.
Yeah, but this was sort of on my terms, and I had learned a lot of, there was a lot of success and failure, and you learn more from failure than success.
Truly, yeah.
And I was more confident as to who I was and what I wanted to say as a designer, and how to speak to that through clothing. And I promised myself in this act of my life, I would never not be proud of something I'm putting out there. That was sort of the bar. I want to be proud of what I'm making. And if I'm not going to make it. No matter who wants to buy it, no matter what I'm told, I'm just not going to do it. Let someone else do it.
And did you feel that immediately? Like you got into that space and you knew that going in.
And it was on my terms. I was writing checks from my checking account.
Yeah.
To staff, to it was what I wanted. And how I was going to do it. And I thought, if it doesn't work, then hey, I tried.
Yeah.
You can always say you tried.
And obviously it's worked.
It's worked amazing. Especially now in these past 3 years coming out of the pandemic, the brand has just exploded.
Yeah, I feel like it's everywhere.
It's in such a good state, really making real clothes for women. And what I mean by that, we don't make clothes for girls.
Yeah.
We don't make clothes for
tweens
or even celebrities or red carpet. We make clothes that you're going to go to again and again in your wardrobe at a quality that is very rarely seen in U.S. fashion.
Yeah, it makes so much sense given where you've come from over the course of your career.
Oscar taught me our job as a designer was to make a woman feel beautiful, and I've taken that forward really in everything I do. And for us, it's quality, quality, quality. We just worked with a fabric that was last used by Dior Couture in 1999.
Oh my gosh!
But we're using this fabric in ready to wear. And that's, a special thing. All of our clothes are hand sewn. They're all finished in silk. Everything is done in a really old school way. And to me, that's really something that I've stood by, and that is important in this.
I read a quote where you said that we don't design for age. You can be 18 to 82. It doesn't matter. We design for the woman to feel amazing in what she's wearing.
I just want her to zip it up and smile. You see that second of a smile. And that really is a great, great joy for me when I'm helping a woman in a fitting room.
Yeah.
To see that. And it's not complicated. Fashion. And there are some fashion sometimes, you want to feel good, or you want to feel cool, or you want to feel rich, or you want to feel young. Why am I wearing what I'm wearing? But we just want you to smile. We want you to feel good in the clothes.
It's interesting when you were talking about the Kmart, that moment of Kmart, you did the Target collaboration in 2015, is that correct? And what I loved so much about the Target collaborations were that you had these incredibly impressive high-end brands working in a way that was still authentic to them, but allowing a bigger audience for it. Was that an interesting moment? Like when Target comes knocking, that's got to be one of those things where Target is not Kmart. You know what I mean? Target has its own vibe and it's so designed forward. And I wonder, what did it feel like when they called? Were you sort of like, yes, I want to do this? Or were you kind of like, I don't know?
No, I definitely wanted to do it. It came with the prestige of Target because they marketed around all these collabs in such a way that it felt okay.
Yeah.
And they also weren't doing it for their margin. They were doing it for press. So the quality was excellent.
Yeah.
And I look back at a lot of my other designers and friends who had done it, and I knew some of their clothes, and they were always so proud with what had come out. So Target just did. I don't know if I would have launched a brand at Target forever.
Yeah, but the collabs.
But this collab, and it had a prestige to it. Missoni did it. Jack and Lazaro did it.
Oh, I still have multiple Missoni pieces from the Target
great.
collaboration. We crashed the website. It wasn't just us, but I remember working at Christie's. I have this very distinct memory of a couple of moments when I realized that things were going to work. One of them was when Gilt Group launched, and I think it was maybe their 5th or 6th sale that they had on, and this was the beginning, and my friends Alexandra and Alexis had started, and they were giving out cards, Gilt Group cards at all the parties. Like, you get a $50 off at Gilt Group, and we're like, what is this? Like, okay, whatever. And Christian Louboutin agreed to do a sale on their site.
Oh, really?
And this was right at the point where I think it was Sarah Jessica Parker maybe had worn his shoes again on Sex and the City. So it was kind of like his name was kind of everywhere. And I will never forget, I was coming back from a meeting, and there's this floor we called 5.5 at Christie's. It's between the 5th and 6th floor. And so you're kind of walking up this floor. It's almost like a trading floor. And there were all these women huddled around the website being like, it's crashed, and crashed the website. And the same thing I remember with Target with the collaborations. It was like,
amazing.
I remember Missoni, you couldn't get on it. With you couldn't get on it. And it just showed this love of the brand and fashion, like the love of true fashion, which was really cool to see.
It was a really fun collaboration to do.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I had no qualms at all.
I love it. But that's great. When you own it, then you can make those decisions.
Yeah, exactly. That was easy then.
It's always the best thing I think about being an entrepreneur is that I spent so many years in a corporate environment where people would be like, and then you have to do this. And I'd be like, but why? Like, why do I have to do this meeting? And why do you need this deck? And this is such a waste of time. And now it's sort of like whatever you feel is right in your gut, you go towards. You learn the lessons when they don't work out. But a lot of times they do because you're doing something you're passionate about over time.
Yes.
So you have a lot coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about all the store openings and the exciting things coming?
We just opened Houston last week.
Oh, Texas. Is that your first store in Texas? Or
It
no?
is.
Really? I would think Dallas and Houston would be your markets.
Houston, it is.
Yeah.
So that's why we opened there. Dallas is on my list too, but I have I'm on the Highland Park Village list.
Yes.
Hard to get into, but
to
it's
get into.
the minute, and I'll take a basement shop there if they'll give it to me.
I feel like the ladies all walk around wearing Adam Lippis.
It is. We have so much support
I'm sure.
in Texas, and I love Texas. I love Houston. I love Dallas. Palm Beach is opening in September. Another no-brainer.
That tracks, yep.
That tracks. We're opening a really fun concept here in New York on 64th and 5th, which is going to be a private salon.
Oh.
In a townhouse. I'm really thinking about how clothes are sold today and what is the most luxurious way to sell clothes today. So how much marble can you put in a store? How grand can you make the store look? Okay, that's one idea.
Yeah.
But I'm really trying to go back and think about how personable you can sell clothes and how privately you can sell. And maybe that's really the next level of luxury. It's interesting. We sell at great partners, Saks Fifth Avenue, Neiman Marcus, Bergdorf's, Net-a-Porter, we have great partners. But a woman still loves to shop in her home.
Yeah.
If I can bring a rack to her in her house, she will buy 12 pieces.
Yeah.
In a store, 2.
Yeah.
So we're trying to replicate that here in New York. It'll be open only by appointment, but there'll be people there full time. You can, of course, just pop in. No signage.
Yeah.
and come with your friends, sit, have a glass of champagne, and enjoy.
Sign me up.
So that'll be really fun.
When does this open, Adam?
In September
when does
as
this
well.
Open? Oh, great.
September as well. So we have a lot.
Right when everyone's coming back.
Right when everyone's coming back.
Right in time for Fashion Week.
We're launching small leather goods.
Mm-hmm.
Those will be within 12 months.
And why into leather goods now?
So why not?
Yeah.
Beauty. We're making them in France. And I get asked for it all the time. And I have some ideas that I want to express in that way. I'm in AD. Now, tomorrow it comes out. Country House is going to be in AD.
Oh my gosh, exciting. Well, I can't wait to look at that. That's going to be incredible to see.
Yes, I'm really excited.
Sort of punching in all directions.
It's a little nerve-wracking, when a big story comes out like that because, did I say something stupid? But I'm confident certainly on their photographs. They'll be beautiful.
Oh, well, I do not doubt it. I can't imagine that there is anything that you touch that is not beautiful.
Well,
I certainly haven't seen anything.
Very nice of you to say.
No, absolutely. Well, Adam, this has been such a pleasure. I cannot thank you enough for stopping by Newsstand Studios, especially coming inside on such a glorious day.
Thank you so much. Yes.
But I've loved listening to your life story and hearing all the ups and downs. And I hope that people listening today take note of all the ups and downs in your career, and it encourages them to try things because that's half the fun, right?
That is the fun. And it's not the end. You look to people who have started businesses in their 70s and 80s,
Yes.
and you look to that and you just keep moving forward.
Yeah. Keep looking for the next thing.
Exactly.
For sure. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Yes, it has.
Thank you for being here, Adam. Thank you to Joe, my incredible producer,
Thank
for
you, Joe.
making sure that this all runs. Thank you to Tishman Speyer and Rockefeller Center for hosting us in this beautiful studio. I'm Lydia Fenet. This is Claim Your Confidence. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll be back again with you next week.